Well, guys, it looks like we're talking about one of them nightmare stories again today. I don't like to fearmonger about the possibility of World War III or global nuclear war, but at this point, I'm getting so fed up with world politics that global nuclear war and the fallout world that would follow just seem more preferable to me than the absolute doom that we have been dealing with for the last year. So frankly, bring on the old nostalgic 1960s and 1950s music, bring on the Nuka-Cola, bring on the ghouls and the rad roaches. I'm ready to fucking scrap, okay? I got my bunker here. This'll be my bunker, okay? I'm sure I could survive a nuke in this. I'm sure it'll work. I might be a ghoul, but, you know, I'd live. And I'd be immortal. I just gotta make sure I don't go feral. That aside, though, the reason I'm talking about this is because despite a pretty strong lean in the geopolitical space to avoid any kind of use or stockpiling or hoarding of nuclear tech, particularly weapons, Donald Trump has 180'd on that position. Or I should say he's 180'd the US's public foreign policy stance on that position. For a long time, the goal of the United States and many other countries has been to reduce the amount of nuclear warheads in existence. There are about, I think last I checked, like 38,000 of them, maybe less now. And the goal has been to reduce the number of nukes significantly. That's the goal, for there not to be really any nukes left in the world. That's the ideal situation. Problem with that is that Donald Trump sees nukes as an amazing backup option. He loves nukes. He doesn't see it as something that all of the world should avoid even touching as an option in warfare because of the absolute global destruction that's possible. He wants us to be ready to hit that button, ready to counter-nuke the rest of the planet if anything bad should ever happen. God forbid if Trump just gets angry one day because he's on his man period and decides to hit the button. So Trump, for those that don't know, has just ordered the Department of War, as he has chosen to rename it, to start beginning regular nuclear testing. You know, just to let the world know we're ready to nuke the planet, I guess? Because we're in an age where if anyone launches a nuke at anybody, it's pretty guaranteed to start a cascading global nuclear war that will destroy the planet. Like, that's just not even contestable. No one should be considering launching nukes in warfare. That is not a thing that should ever be considered on the table, especially not publicly in 2025. But Donald Trump thinks that would be a great idea. Of course he does. Let's see what this dumb asshole is up to. Now, if you end up liking this video, consider leaving a like, a thumbs up, and a comment down below. I know it doesn't really seem like it does anything, but I promise it does. It actually forces YouTube to boost my content. It really does help, and I really do appreciate it. Maybe drop a hype on the video as well if you really want to boost it, and subscribe if you want to see more. Without any further ado, though, let's get right into it. Let's see what this asshole has in store for us. Is it going to be total nuclear war? I got my Pip-Boy. I need to go out and get some of that Nuka-Cola that you can buy. Apparently there's a company selling Nuka-Cola. I need to get some.
The president just posted this evening, a couple of moments ago actually, on Truth Social, where he is talking up U.S. nuclear weapons in a new social media post. He said that because of other countries' nuclear testing, that he has, quote, instructed the Department of War to start testing our nuclear weapons on an equal basis.
Mind you, the nuclear testing he's talking about other countries doing are like pithy nuclear programs where they can hardly enrich enough nuclear material to create a functioning bomb, much less one with any serious power. Mind you, much less a cascade of nuclear warheads armed on ICBMs that could then travel without being intercepted and hit U.S. territory or U.S. allied territory. Like, the idea that there is any hostile nation that has that capability right now is insane. I don't even think Russia could do it. I don't think Russia has enough nukes to be a serious threat to the U.S. right now, do they? As far as I'm aware, not really. Like if Russia tried to nuke us, I'm pretty sure we're gonna be able to stop a lot of the damage, and they're not gonna be able to stop anywhere near as much as we could do back to them. As for most other countries, like, I'm pretty sure North Korea doesn't even have nukes. Iran doesn't have nukes, as far as we know at least. Russia has 4K nukes, yeah, but we've got like 20,000 nukes. Also, we've got like the most sophisticated like surface to ground air defense ever. yes, nukes fly at 35,000 miles per hour, it would be a shit show of untold proportions. Yeah, like it's. I'm pretty confident that like outside of maybe Russia, I don't think there'd be much of a difference. You have 3K nerd. I'm pretty sure the U.S. has far more than 3K nukes actually. Short stack goblin. The U.S. is last I heard, the U.S. had over 10,000. Like the U.S. had hoarded a significant amount of the world's nukes. Last I was aware. And I believe the total number is around like 18K or 20K. Might be double that. It's been a while since I've looked into the total number of nuclear warheads on the planet, but it was somewhere around 20K, I think.
My source tonight is the former Deputy Director of National Intelligence, Beth Sanner. And Beth, I'm so glad that you're here because I want to just read this entire post from the president from a few moments ago because I think there's a few things in it that aren't true. And I'm very curious for your thoughts on this because he said at 9:04 p.m. as he's on the way in South Korea to go meet with Xi Jinping that the United States has more nuclear weapons than any other country. He says this was accomplished, including a complete update and renovation of existing weapons during my first term in office. Because of the tremendous destructive power, I hated to do it but had no choice. Russia is second and China is a distant third, but will be even within 5 years. Because of other countries' testing programs, I've instructed the Department of War to start testing our nuclear weapons on an equal basis. And he says that process will begin immediately.
Zan, there's 12K nukes in existence currently, which is much better than the 78K in the 80s. That's a lot less. Wasn't it like 40K in like a decade ago? Have they reduced it by like 4 times since in a decade? Is that accurate? Because I could have sworn I remember being like a teenager and hearing that there were like 30 or 40,000 nukes on the planet. Has it seriously been reduced globally to 12K since then? Is that accurate? Does anybody know what the number was at in 2016, 2015?
Immediately. First off, Beth, is what the president says in this post true? And secondly, what do you make of this announcement?
Well, you know, who has more warheads, nuclear weapons, Russia or the United States? Technically, Russia has a little bit more, but it also depends on how you count and what is an active warhead. And, you know, it gets kind of complicated. And I think that basically the United States and Russia are at parity. You know, if you can destroy the Earth, you know, many, many times over, it really, you know, we're talking.
Yeah, that's kind of the part of it that kind of makes the point of who can do the most damage a bit pointless. Because both Russia and the US have enough nukes to destroy the planet. Like, if either party launches their nukes, either of us could just wipe the entire planet clean. Just a full clean slate. Russia could nuke the whole planet with their nuclear arsenal. We could nuke the whole planet with our nuclear arsenal. God forbid the US and Russia launch volleys at each other. Oh yeah, doesn't India have nukes too? India would totally have nukes. Actually, how many... I feel like the countries that have nukes, it's still a pretty reduced list. Like, a lot of countries straight up don't have any. Like, big, powerful countries you would expect would have, like, one, don't even have one. Like, I don't think the UK has any nukes, right? Does the UK have any? As far as I'm aware, like, the closest the UK has to nukes is, like, partnership with Israel. Trident? The UK does, so does France. Oh, they do, okay. Fuck, who is it that I'm thinking of in the UK, or in Europe, that I was like, there's no way they don't have nukes? Was it Sweden? It was either like Sweden or Germany. Germany! It was Germany, wasn't it? I feel like Germany's gotta have nukes, though. Does Germany have... Okay, they have US nukes. Okay, yeah. I think it's Sweden. I think it's Sweden that doesn't have nukes. Yeah, it's surprising how small. Switzerland doesn't have them either. It's so weird how... Well, not weird, but it's interesting how small the list is. Because there are a lot of countries that fully recognize Germany is nukeless independently. Okay. But it is interesting how many countries could probably have negotiated a nuclear warhead or two out of the US over the years that just haven't. Or like with the UK, I don't think if the UK's got nukes, I don't think it's like a lot, you know? Like it's very much like, yeah, we've got a few, but I don't think the UK could destroy the planet with their nuclear arsenal. I could be wrong. I don't know exactly how many they have.
About angels dancing on the head of a pin, and China being a distant third is true. But my big picture here on the nuclear testing is this is something that you know, real hawks like Ambassador Bolton really pushed.
The UK has 225. Would that be enough? That'd be enough to do a lot of damage, I'd say. That's got to be enough.
For in the first administration, and the president didn't do that. And I personally believe that it is a bad idea to go forward with U.S. nuclear testing. And here's why. sure that there are constraints on us. And, there are people you can argue, you can have discussions about this. There are constraints by us not testing. But when the United States tests, you basically give carte blanche to everyone else. And the reason that we don't test is because we've tested more than pretty much everyone else. We did thousands, over 1,000 at least, tests during the Cold War. And we have computer simulations, and real experts say, like, we don't really need to do that. Do you know how many tests China has done?
It's very obvious. The point of holding nuclear tests is just as a show of strength. To be able to have footage of nuclear bombs going off. You know what I will say? I am excited to see HD footage of a nuke going off. If this actually happens, then presumably we're going to get modern HD footage of a real nuclear explosion. I don't think there's a lot of footage like that out there. So seeing modern, hyper HD, possibly even slow-mo high FPS footage of a nuclear explosion, like a test nuke explosion, is gonna be pretty cool. It's gonna be pretty cool. You don't get to see that often. Especially not like a big boy USA nuke, you know what I mean? Are we gonna, like, set them off in the desert? Also, hasn't it been, like, pretty solidly proven that our nuclear testing did a lot to contaminate US soil, as well as the soil of several other countries? Like, wasn't it deemed that our nuclear testing was a objectively bad thing for Americans and their health? Maha, make America healthy again, am I right?
50. We've done thousands, 50, or at least over 1,050. So when you say that we're going to test, you're now allowing China to test. And so when the president correctly says they're a distant third, what would allow them to catch up faster? Partly testing, because they haven't done as much. And so my view on this is, yes, we give up a little bit in terms of constraining ourselves when we have a test ban treaty and we uphold it. But
if above ground, most tests are underground, do you guys really think that Donald Trump is going to order below ground tests? You guys know that Donald Trump's going to order them to be above ground tests that are live streamed by, like, Tesla or something, you know? Like, it's going to not only be an above ground test, but they're probably going to make it as extravagant as they can so that they can get really high def video to use on their social medias. Remember, we have an influencer president. Our influencer president is not going to do a normal below ground nuclear test. He's going to do an above ground one with a big ass mushroom cloud to post a video of so that he can use this as a show of force and strength for fascist Americans who want to feel powerful and, I guess, to demoralize progressives.
When we break that, other countries who are our adversaries benefit more than we do.
Well, how does someone like Xi Jinping, who is on his way for his first face-to-face with Trump in 6 years, how does he read a message like that moments before they sit down together?
I know, it's a little bit of a crazy Ivan, taking a Tom Clancy phrase. I don't really know what that came from or why it would be now. I think it might be that someone told him that China was testing, or I don't know exactly, but that's not really the case. So I'm not really sure what this point is that other people are doing it, so we should be doing. I'm not really getting that. I might be missing something though. Okay, because it's a new thing and I haven't.
The other thing, though, that I thought about was the North Korea aspect of all of this that has kind of been part of this meeting. I was listening to the president speaking with reporters.
Blatantly, by the way, very clearly, this is Trump copying North Korea. He wants to be able to, like, obviously North Korea likes to do their big shows of strength, but they don't actually have the bite to back up their bark. The U.S. does actually have the bite to back up their bark. So Trump wants to basically do the shit that North Korea does with their, like, military parades and their shows of strength with, testing their missiles and whatnot. But Trump wants to make it, obviously more apparent that the U.S. can actually do something because it's the U.S. It's the most powerful military on the planet.
Last night on Air Force One, and he was saying, they'd been making some overtures about having the two of them sit down together. We have not yet seen North Korea respond to that, I don't think, but they were firing missiles off of their west coast the other day. Do you think that has anything to do with this calculation, or how is that something that they go into this meeting with that in the background?
Yes. That's interesting, Caitlin. Very smart of you. look, we've been waiting for North Korea to do a nuclear test, for about 2 years now, and they haven't done one. That would be necessary, we think, for them to miniaturize their warheads enough that they could really be sure that an ICBM, which they have, that could reach anywhere in the United States, that it would have a warhead that would explode as expected. And so we've been waiting for them to do that. So this could be about
To simplify that a bit, basically, obviously, North Korea has the capability to make a missile that can fly all the way to the U.S. and, land on our soil. But getting a nuclear warhead is hard. Enriching uranium is hard. Getting a fusion, I think it's fusion, right? It's a fusion reaction that happens in a warhead. Is it fusion or fission? But getting that reaction that happens, that causes the nuclear reaction that basically creates a sun for a few seconds on Earth. It's not an easy thing to do, and it's not an easy thing to downsize. So from what I've understood, North Korea has basically been bottlenecked by the whole warhead part of things, and so they've got a lot of missiles to show off. They show off a lot of cool ICBMs, but they don't have any nuclear explosion to follow up with. So it's mostly just talk. It's a lot of barking.
North Korea. Now those missile tests are short range ballistic missiles, and maybe it could be a North Korea angle. As far as I know, there isn't going to be a meeting with Kim. The president has floated that, and maybe he's frustrated that they haven't responded. I don't know. We'll probably find out a little bit more about what this is all about in the next day or so. But it's interesting, and I don't know. I mean, I think that what President Xi would think about this is he's very unpredictable, and I'm having trouble having a stable relationship with President Trump. And I think that is not a virtue at this point in our negotiations with them.
I want to ask you about one other thing, because it kind of came up, I'm just going to say randomly. Just before this meeting, the president basically said that he wanted to revive the idea of nuclear testing. He put this on Truth Social, and he said he ordered the military to, quote,
"Because of other countries' testing programs, I've instructed the Department of War to start testing our nuclear weapons on a daily basis, on an equal basis. That process will begin immediately."
Trump did not tweet this.
Start testing nuclear weapons on an equal basis, and he wants to
Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Process to start immediately. And just for history here, folks, the U.S. has not detonated a nuclear bomb in more than 3 decades, and the president, of course, is saying that should change.
It had to do with others. They seem to all be nuclear testing. We have more nuclear weapons than anybody. We don't do testing, and we've halted it many years ago. But with others doing testing, I think it's appropriate that we do also.
Who is he saying is doing testing?
That's the great mystery. So China has not tested since the 90s. Russia has not tested since the 90s. He may be confusing this with the delivery vehicle tests, exotic weapons that Putin was showing off even earlier this week, but there was no nuclear detonation involved in that. The only country that has tested...
That is exactly what's happening. Donald Trump is 100% confusing the ICBMs with the actual nukes themselves.
...has been North Korea, and their last test was about 6 years ago. So I'm not quite sure where this rash of nuclear testing that he's discussing is coming from. Now, there has been pressure from many in the nuclear community to say that you can't go 3 decades without doing tests, and that it's not.
And we
enough
should
to
say
do
one of the
nuclear
reasons
power.
why they stopped is because they were using mathematical models, and they were able to say, look, that we think there's another way to do this.
And because we've got nations around the world to sign but not ratify, unfortunately, the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty, which was supposed to stop testing around the world.
Is this a sign the U.S., which had never signed on to nuclear proliferation, is just further disinterested in being a leader on the idea of de-escalating nuclear ambition?
And the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty was basically an American-driven idea that America never ratified because they couldn't.
I'm really curious if Hideo Kojima has said anything about this, unironically. For those that don't know, for obvious reasons, culturally in Japan, the idea of nukes, it's just considered kind of like evil, just nukes are evil for obvious reasons. There's a pretty cultural, strong idea that fuck nukes. They're pretty awful. A lot of anti-nuclear proliferation media and with those themes comes out of Japan, and probably one of my favorite examples is a lot of Hideo Kojima's work, and he has touched on, notably in MGS5, one of the biggest themes is nuclear deterrence. It was also big in Peace Walker too, clearly. But in MGS5 it also was, to the extent where there was a mechanic around the idea of disarming other players' nuclear warheads on their FOBs and choosing whether or not you would hold a nuke. And once the entire player base had chosen to either get rid of their nukes or had succeeded in disarming other players' nukes, and there were no longer any nukes on the entire online Metal Gear servers, you would get a secret cutscene that would play with like a secret credits scene that would thank every player that had taken part in the global nuclear disarmament. To, like, it would thank them. It would give them like a special credits roll of usernames. Such a cool thing. I think the old Xbox 360 servers have been the only place that this has been able to happen, because they were, you know, Xbox 360, old console, not a lot of people playing it. People in the online for that were able to pull it off. But the fact that's even a thing, and that most people will never see it, I think that speaks volumes. Though I'm really curious what Hideo Kojima would have to say about this. I wonder if he's tweeted about it. Because this is big news. Like, for the first time in decades, a country is going to be doing nuclear weapons testing. Like, actively detonating nukes. It's pretty groundbreaking. Like, this is a big deal. People are going to be talking about this for a while. And it's definitely not the good kind of groundbreaking. They're not going to be talking about it for a while in the good kind of way, that's for sure. Yeah, Trump might have been playing a little bit too much Fallout. How crazy would it be if Trump, like does the big nuclear detonation tests around the time they drop Fallout Season 2? I have to admit, that'll end up being pretty darn perfect for the thematic matchup, you know? Wow, when was the last time? Haven't checked the Wikipedia, and it's literally groundbreaking. Get it, Zan? True! Groundbreaking, indeed. Anyway, folks, if y'all enjoyed this segment, if you found it entertaining, educational, or enjoyable in any way whatsoever, then please consider leaving a like and a comment down below. It's totally free, and it really does help. All those thumbs up and all those comments, no matter what you say, force YouTube to push my stuff out to more people. It really does help. Growing online is centered around engagement. It's why the right has such a big advantage. So be sure to subscribe and ring the bell icon as well if you want to see more from me, and make sure that YouTube actually tells you when I upload or put out new videos or go live. And if you want to see more from me on other platforms, consider following my social medias linked down below, particularly joining my fan Discord. And of course, if you want to support me directly, financially, help your favorite streamer keep the lights on and a roof above his head here at the Xander Hall studio and food in mine belly, then please consider donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub to someone else on my website, xanderhall.com/live, or support me through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, Patreon, or buy some custom Xander Hall merch through the Streamlabs link down below. Regardless of how you support me, though, thank you all so much for watching, as always, and have a good one.